We begin tonight with new details on that major offer reiterated by China, where they said they'd buy nearly $70 billion from the United States in farm and energy products if President Trump doesn't impose his threatened tariffs. Here now to break it all down, Veronique de Rugy, Senior Research Fellow at the Mercatus Center. Tammy Bruce, Fox News political contributor, also Independent Women's Voice President, and she's a Washington Times columnist. And Herb London's with us, London Center for Policy Research. I'm going to start with you, Veronique, since you rarely make it into the studio. Now, we know this offer has been lingering out there, but they sort of put additional conditions on it. Listen, this is $70 billion. No more games, don't implement these tariffs on us, and maybe we can find another way to go from here. But it feels like President Trump playing hardball.
Well, I think it's pretty smart what they did. Actually, it's very smart what they did, because they've asked for conditions. They made a clear offer that putting the president in a position to either accept it or reject it. And so maybe, it's going to be, maybe they've studied the art of the deal, and they've actually talked to people who've dealt with him when he was in real estate. And he is very well known for actually dragging out contracts for a long time, for changing the terms. And maybe they're saying that's it.
And yet, by the same token, President Trump has imposed deadlines on a series of things, whether it was the Paris Climate Accord or the tariffs that went into effect last week, and he has stuck with them, and we have to expect all of those timelines to stay in place with this deal, so the clock is ticking.
It is, but keep in mind what the Chinese are suggesting here, and this could be the problem, that when we're imposing tariffs, we're in charge. We're the acting individual. China's suggesting that they become the actor, so that if they're going to be purchasing $70 billion or whatever they're suggesting, it means that they can choose to not do it. They can change the dynamic, that suddenly they become the actor in the framework. We are less in control. So this clearly has to be a consideration from President Trump about the nature of what it is they're trying to achieve. They're going to suggest something that is better for them, right? This is about changing clearly a trade war that we have lost with China. In addition to, are they stalling in certain other aspects? Our intellectual property framework,
sure,
they've been stealing, generally spying, their buildup in the South China Sea. We're sending another battleship in there as we speak. So all of these elements have got to be dealt with. Beyond, in addition to, can our farmers deliver the kind of material and the bulk of the material that they're supposedly going to be buying? But ultimately, we should not give up being the acting party in a deal.
And I don't think that we are. I do want to point out to the audience, though, just moments ago it became official, Mexico leveling $3 billion in tariffs, mostly on pork, whiskey, and cheese. Herb, here's the thing, though. I think any other president would have taken $70 billion, gladly ran around the block, spiked the ball, and said, look what I achieved, because no one has ever done this. So it gets to the point that President Trump obviously is serious about this, but how much should he push the envelope? How much more do you think he could extract from the Chinese government?
I think he could push it very far. And in fact, I think that President Trump has clearly demonstrated by the assertiveness of this administration that he is in control. An attitude very, very different from his predecessor. Keep in mind that even when we're talking about the unilaterally created air perimeter zone in the South China Sea, up until this point, all we've done is we've flown a B-52 over this area and waved. We've had a battleship within 12 miles of these artificial islands. But we've done nothing more than that. Here we have a president and a secretary of defense who is saying, you know something, we're not giving the Chinese a free run here. This area controls roughly 40% of all the commercial tonnage in the world.
Then let me throw this at you, because there's a report, we may, to Tammy's point, take a battleship through the Taiwan Strait. It hadn't been done in a very long period of time. It would be extraordinarily provocative.
That's right.
And do we need to go that far? Would that upset a negotiation that it feels like we're winning right now?
It seems to me you're not going too far. The Taiwanese want to understand that, but more significantly, the nations that are on the periphery of China want to understand it as well. They want to know that there's an ally that you can count on. They want to know that the American nuclear umbrella is real. So that there's an awful lot that goes into these negotiations on June 12th. And one of them, of course, is the role that the Chinese want to play in reducing America's influence in the Pacific Basin.
Well, there's no doubt to that's one of their ultimate goals, yeah.
Yeah, okay. If I can add, though, on trade, I actually don't see this as winning on our side, because let's not forget that when he threatened to impose tariffs, what he is doing is holding the American consumers hostage in the name of leveraging a handful of American producers. I mean, I understand that this is the way the president sees the world, but I don't see it as a win. I also don't see as a win the fact that the Chinese are promising $70 billion, because bilateral trade agreement do not guarantee at all in a global economy that actually we're not going to increase the trade deficit.
But what do you make, though, Veronique, of the idea that China wants to change the composition of their economy from an export-driven economy to a domestic economy, not unlike ours? If that is the case, wouldn't it behoove them to open their markets and to lower tariffs?
It would be great. It would be great to do it, but the way to achieve it is not through leveraging tariffs on the American people, because ultimately this is who's going to pay those tariffs, right? And the other thing is also we shouldn't be buying the talking point that we can achieve lower trade deficit, if that were even a goal, because you understand, to lower a trade deficit, there are three ways. You devaluate your currency, you consume less and save more, you have a Great Depression.
Or we could sell more to them. Or we could balance it by them opening up their markets.
They're going to buy less from the French, for instance. If they buy,
but let's be honest, though. Let's be honest, because we hear that all the time. They'll buy from these people. They'll buy from. They can't get a Boeing from the French, right? They can't get any kind of airplane that resembles a Boeing. Why do we keep negotiating? If we're going to go down this path, why would we negotiate from? They're not buying anything from us for altruistic reasons. They don't buy our pork because they like us. They don't buy our airplanes because they like us. They don't buy our computer chips because they like us. They need this stuff. They need it.
It's the nature of what America produces, the volume with which it produces it as well. No other country on earth is able to do this. But also thinking, of course, financially in the nature of how reliant America is on other products like steel and the nature of how much it controls our economy. And that has kept other presidents from acting too aggressively on China. And now this is about China's security, Japan's security, South Korea's security, the Philippines, that entire area. They know all of this is wrapped up into one thing.
We know security is important. We know that tamping down on China's technology dreams. China 25 is an important goal, particularly when they're using their private sector companies to help augment that. But here's the thing, and I'm going to ask you in a minute, but the markets today yawned at this news, but they also yawned when China started saber-rattling last week. Feels like the markets have a deaf ear to this right now, sort of taking a wait-and-see approach. For how much longer can that last?
That I can't tell. I can't tell. I'm not an investor. But talking about our reliance, by the way, we are extremely reliant of all this capital that is coming into the U.S. to buy our debt and to invest in the U.S.
Isn't it ironic, though, that used to be our money, but we exchange it for cheap plastic stuff that we got to throw away later?
The reason why they're interested in selling stuff to us is because they want these dollars to reinvest here.
Right.
So we need to be actually thinking very seriously about the trade-off. Really, we want to sell more stuff and buy less of theirs? Well, are we ready to do what it takes in the U.S., which is, again, save more, consume less, be less in debt? Because this is the cost it's going, or actually pay our debt at a higher interest rate.